Something is happening on Bitcoin that has also happened here, 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 and here. In each of these instances, the US economy was experiencing what's called a cyclical recovery. A cyclical recovery is a moment when the majority of the US economy is re-accelerating after a cool down period. By looking at an indicator called the PMI, we can see what the US economic cycle looks like over time. This is a survey developed by the Institute for Supply Management that measures the level of economic activity in the private sector. And as we've covered before on this channel, this tracks the price of Bitcoin very well. As this PMI survey goes up, it suggests that economic activity in the US is accelerating, and that historically corresponds to the strongest periods for Bitcoin. When this line is coming back down, it suggests the US economy is decelerating, and that typically corresponds to moments where Bitcoin is struggling. So since its birth, Bitcoin has been an economically sensitive financial asset. After all, Bitcoin is young with a limited historical track record, it's highly volatile compared to other assets, and it's also still a relatively small market cap. And that makes most investors, including Wall Street, still see Bitcoin as a high-risk, economically sensitive asset rather than a storehold of wealth or safe haven asset like gold. Now, over the last few years, this PMI survey has come down significantly from its extreme highs in March of 2021 and has been hovering at around 50, suggesting the US economy is neither accelerating upwards or accelerating downwards. We're staying at around the same levels of growth. And that partly explains why Bitcoin's performance hasn't been all that impressive since March of 2021, or at least not that impressive relative to other big rallies that we've seen on Bitcoin that were associated with an acceleration of the US economy. If the ISM PMI index is about to turn up, signaling that the US economy is accelerating upwards, that could mean that we're in a similar position to all of these instances right here. And when we look at Bitcoin, that actually marked the very start of big parabolic moves up in Bitcoin. The question now is whether we're about to experience the same thing in 2025. If you had asked me this question 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely not. But the macroeconomic landscape has been shifting significantly over the last few months, and naturally, so has our opinion, as you may have seen from our recent videos. By the way, if you aren't using ByBit to trade crypto yet, go and sign up to their platform. They are our official crypto platform partner, and you can get up to a $30,000 sign-up bonus if you use our affiliate link down below to start trading crypto. Plus, it's a fantastic platform to trade, it's easy to use, and they have great customer support. So why would the US economy all of a sudden see an acceleration upwards? Well, that comes down to the Federal Reserve, the US central bank. For the last year and a half, the Federal Reserve has been reducing their interest rate from a high level. Now, historically, most of the time they do this during economic downturns, as marked by these official recession bars from the NBER. But today they've been reducing their interest rate outside of a recession, at least for now. And there's really only 3 other times over the last 60 years of data where the Federal Reserve lowered their interest rate from high levels without the US economy experiencing an economic downturn. That was in 1967, 1985, and 1995. And what we can do is do a very simple analysis of what happened to the US economy a year and a half after each of these instances. Let's overlay that PMI survey again, and we can see that in each of these instances, the PMI indicator turned back upwards after a significant cool down period. So today, a year and a half after the last rate hike, it seems increasingly likely that the US economy can experience a re-acceleration upwards, which could, believe it or not, help propel Bitcoin even higher than it is today. Since November of 2023, we've been in and out of the crypto market with our trades at Bravos Research. We rode this run up with substantial profits on Ethereum and Solana. We also had exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum during this run up, and we currently still have a long trade on Solana right now and re-entered a trade on Bitcoin at $98,000. By the way, if you want to follow all of our trades on crypto, stocks, commodities, make sure to grab yourself a subscription to our website. The next big step, however, will be to try and identify when the next big Bitcoin top will occur. And that's why this next part of the video is probably even more important than the first, because it's going to give you the tool that you need in order to understand when that next peak is going to come. And believe it or not, that tool is the price of oil, one of the most important financial variables in our financial system. The last 2 peaks on Bitcoin were, in fact, indirectly caused by rising oil prices. And we can see that by overlaying this data set that shows us when oil prices are trending higher or lower. As you can see, the last 2 big tops on Bitcoin occurred when oil prices started to trend higher for a sustained period of time in 2018 and in 2021. We can make the case that this rise in oil prices was instrumental at putting an end to these Bitcoin bull markets. And the reason for this is quite simple. Oil has a major influence on financial markets in many different ways. Higher oil prices can end up being a direct drag on economic growth. As people see the price of energy going up, it leads them to cut spending in other areas of their lives, slowing the economy, and needless to say that lower economic growth is not a great thing for financial markets. Higher oil prices can also indirectly lead to higher interest rate levels by spurring higher levels of inflation. We can see that simply by looking at the price of oil against long-term interest rates. Although it's not perfect, it's a pretty close match. And higher interest rates are also not the greatest thing for financial markets because they incentivize people to save up and store away cash rather than invest money in financial markets like in the stock market or Bitcoin. So long story short, higher oil prices are a bad thing for Bitcoin's performance, and one of the earliest signals that you can catch to tell you that trouble is brewing for Bitcoin. And that's why this chart works so well. All of these periods right here are moments where oil prices are generally trending sideways or trending down, and all of the big Bitcoin bull markets have occurred during these periods. All of the moments where oil prices are trending higher on a sustained basis correspond to the biggest declines in Bitcoin's price. Now, more recently, we've had a little bit of a tick up in the price of oil that's trending higher for the first time since early 2024. For now, this is not enough for us to really start turning bearish on Bitcoin. But if this chart starts to morph into something like this, that's when we'd get a little bit more concerned and much more cautious on our view on cryptocurrencies. In fact, we think there's a pretty high risk that this is going to happen at some point in 2025. If the US economy is really about to accelerate, eventually that's going to lead to higher demand for energy, which can push up the price of oil. For now, however, Bitcoin's technical structure looks incredible. It has just broken out and retested a key trendline resistance. Last week, we got confirmation that that level was holding, which made us re-enter Bitcoin and also initiate a long position on Coinbase, which is a major US crypto exchange that's traded publicly. Again, if you want to have access to all of our trades, buy and sell alerts, go to bravosresearch.com and test out our subscription.